podcast is brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors. Pella of Omaha and Lincoln wants every homeowner to have the best quality windows and doors, and they're willing to bet $100 on it. Call the Omaha or Lincoln showroom or go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting at $122 a month. And we're brought to you by the Brickway Cut Spike Lucky Bucket family. They're now a part of my family because I've consumed these various drinks in my home. We got the bourbons here displayed for our YouTube audience. You boy just straight up crushed, or TID'd, as we used to say back in the day, some Oktoberfest beers. They're fantastic. Check them out. They're located in the Omaha-La Vista area, 4 blocks south of 120th and Giles. And we're brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems, the Solaire authorized distributor for Nebraska and Iowa. Solaire is the leading American manufacturer of air compressors for any and all air compressor needs. Go to peerlessenergy.com. Nick Bahe, Bo Ruud, I am in what is called, they call this a dad hat when we ordered it for Shoot 360. Yep. I mean, it's like, is this a dad hat?
Thought, when I saw you, I thought, yeah, it's a dad hat.
See, but hold on. Braun, I saw Braun, when Braun got the news that he was going to carry the American flag, I think for the opening ceremonies at like a team meeting, he had like a hat similar to this. And I was like, if Braun can do it, I can do it.
I feel like that is, when Braun does it, he's like 6 style moves ahead of the rest of the world. And it's almost like he does it ironically. Most people wear it because they're dads.
Okay. Well, what am I?
Your dad.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I mean, are you unless you're taking your style game to a whole new level?
Oh, I'm not taking my style game to a whole new level.
I didn't know if you were.
I do feel like I'm slowly getting to the point where I'm like, there's sometimes I kind of want to tuck everything in, which that's a sign as you get older, you're like, yes. When you become like, I think I'm going to tuck it in.
Well, at some point, it's shorts with a tucked in polo everywhere. And those kind of sandals they're kind of closed-toed, but they're a sandal.
They're almost like, did Marcus Aurelius wear this? Yes, did Marcus from down the street wear this, you know?
That's exactly right. And at some point, I think you drift into it and you go, this is easier.
Here's the ultimate dad outfit. This is the ultimate dad outfit. Really light jeans with a T-shirt tucked in.
Oh, that's bad, Dad.
That's the ultimate, like, wow, we're there, huh?
Yeah, I don't see that as much.
No, that
was like in the 90s more, maybe.
I felt like when I would go out, the year I was a GA, like the coaching staff, we'd like meet to like go somewhere, and they'd all be in like jeans and like a tucked in Creighton basketball T-shirt. And I'm like, what are we doing here?
That's T-shirt tucked in.
T-shirt tucked into jeans.
Yeah, it's usually the collared shirts get tucked.
Yeah.
And you
I basically want to wear, like today, we're taping this in the morning. I've been running around. It's my wife's birthday, so I had to, been doing a bunch of stuff. Today I'm Shoot 360 shirt, basketball shorts, dad hat here. I find myself wanting to wear the dry fit, like almost like golf pants with like a nice dry fit polo. I think that's what I want to wear all the time.
The pandemic pushed that, which was on the fringe, to the forefront. I think majority of working professional men wear the athleisure, as you call it, right?
Athleisure, okay.
Athleisure. So like dry fit, stretchy versus like old school, you wore like slacks and a button up. Like
Isaiah Garcia Castaneda's Dockers that he's pushing. Those, I don't want to wear Dockers.
He's wearing real Dockers stuff.
Real Dockers are just you sit down once and it's like the Wrinkle Factory called. We're pretty wrinkled.
I mean, it's hard to sometimes if you have to drive or you want to be in like a nice slacks.
Yeah.
And just
I'm with you.
Swampy down there. A little air.
Okay. All right. Enough of we're 4 minutes into this thing and we're already off the rails because I wore a dad hat. Couple of we're gonna preview and talk about the Illinois game. Mm-hmm. I had a little mailbag. Got a couple of good questions we'll dive into, but I have a couple of things I want to throw at you real quick. Number one, just some things from the Matt Rule press conference and over the last couple of days. Riley Van Poppel is going to do it. He's going to be a 4-game redshirt guy. The quote from Rule when asked about this, he was like, I told him you can play 8 to 10 plays a game this year, or you can be Ty Robinson next year.
Yeah.
You don't see this a lot where somebody like plays. I mean, case in point, last year, remember the big Illinois goal line stand? Yeah, who made the big play?
Van Poppel.
Van Poppel did. You don't see, like, guy plays a decent amount, then he redshirts a year, and then like so it's the order of operations is a little different, but you know, I can understand a little bit to a certain degree.
It points to the depth they actually have there. I mean, this is a guy that you would normally want in your rotation, and they've finally gotten to a place where there's enough depth they can make long-term decisions. Like, what's a good long-term decision for the program and for Van Poppel? To redshirt. Like, this is thinking down the road, but like, you don't get to even have that option unless you build that depth, right? Because normally you're like, we need you, buddy. Like, you're our, you know, if there's a starting defensive line, he's probably the next guy in.
I think he's
a typical Nebraska team. Right now, he's like the seventh guy in. So there's three and three going in ahead of him, and he's like the seventh guy, and he's a good enough player. They're like, we want you to redshirt. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
He's got that kind of ability.
If I were, and I think Riley Van Poppel understands that. I mean, his comment of like, you can be Ty Robinson next year is a window into like, listen, you're good. You're so good. We want to redshirt you.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, if they don't want to redshirt you like that, and you're not playing,
it's like,
that's good.
We're liking your career on the path it's on.
We want to get you out of here as soon as possible.
You know, get to the real world a year ahead of everybody else. It would be good for you.
So I think if I'm Riley Van Poppel's got to be feeling pretty good about it. The other thing, the Bazooka, Micah Mazuka, is out for the second straight game. Working through some personal stuff. Hard to really. I don't know. I mean, you can't help but like we'd just be speculating, like maybe it's this, maybe it's that. I don't know. At least it's good that he's not. It's not like he's off the team. It's a discipline thing. This doesn't seem like one of those things, but not good. I mean, he was starting right guard.
No,
you know,
that, more than anything, it's like I don't like. It's not even good to guess what it is. It's better just to talk about. It does hurt us. I mean, that is our starting right guard. We don't need to be thinning out our depth on the offensive side of the ball, like the offensive line, which we thought we had some depth. We lose Teddy Peño-Ass down. Teddy Peño-Ass, and then we got Bazooka.
And then the Bazooka. So, I mean, let's be honest.
on the shelf with the other arsenal we have, and I mean...
So, not good. Just figured I'd mention that. I don't really know what else we can say other than it's not good, you know, and hopefully he comes back, and that at least it's good that it's not like, you know, hit the road jack kind of a thing. Okay, big thought I got for you here. I'm going to somehow tie this into Karate Kid, so get ready.
Okay.
So just kind of sit back. I'm going to lay this out here, okay? So we talked about there's been major progress so far, right? 3-0. They've spanked all three teams. Again, I think we gave A grades for the non-con when we put our professor hats on in the recap pod. Husker fans got to be thrilled with what they've seen. Dylan Raiola is as good as advertised. This defense appears to be a top 10 to 15 defense at the worst in the country. Weapons have definitely improved. The young talent's exciting. So you got to be really, really pleased. But I still have these two things in the back of my head as I've kind of been thinking about stuff. The two main things that have plagued this team/program are turnovers and close games. Mm-hmm. And it feels like Nebraska has to slay those two dragons for everyone to fully be like, okay. It's like in the Karate Kid tournament. Like, remember that Daniel-san's beating people, but the Cobra Kai, they're beating people, and you know at some point, like...
It's coming to a head.
It's going to come to a head, okay? And as we've talked about, turnovers is one of those things, like, it isn't fixed until it's fixed, so it's kind of like, I don't know how to, like, each game, you're like, this is good, but you got to keep on stacking those things. But to me, the close games thing is, like, the big thing for me. That's what everyone's kind of waiting for. It's the thing that both inside and outside the program has been top of mind. I mean, think about this. Really, really, Nebraska is 5-24 in its last 29 one-score games. Let that really sink in for a second. 5-24 in the last 29 one-score games. Nebraska started 5-3 last year. Then they lost 4 straight one-score games to end the year. It's defined the program since 2018. It defined the Frost era. It defined year one under Matt Rule. I mean, the entire offseason documentary is called Chasing 3 Points, which is basically like, we need to win one-score games. We need to win. I mean, you might as well have just titled it that, right? Yeah. So I think deep in our kind of Kool-Aid drenched Husker subconscious right now is this one-score dragon thing.
Yeah, I like that.
Everyone's waiting to see what that looks like, and we can all see that everything else is improved. Literally, like across the board, I think everything has been taken up a notch.
Yeah.
But what does the one-score game thing look like? Like, is that...
I actually like that you said, the Karate Kid analogy is coming to a head like we got the dragon to slay, right?
Yeah.
So I think close games and turnovers are definitely the two big dragons left. I would say big games on national TV, we kind of slayed a little dragon right there.
Agree.
The Colorado game was one of those
agree.
moments.
That's a good call.
That was one of maybe our three dragons. So we got two left. And it's probably close games and it's turnovers. Like our turnover phenomenon, whatever it is, right? So I think you're spot on. Like the close games thing, though, we touched on this a little bit with Dylan Raiola. We know a good amount about Dylan.
Yep.
What we don't know about Dylan is the same thing that we're talking about with close games, is how do we respond when we're behind or it's tight, it's the fourth quarter, it's crunch time, 2-minute drill. What are we with Dylan in the 2024 Huskers that we weren't in the past? That's what we still don't know. We've played such a better brand of football this year, but the game has been over in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Now, like I said, the last thing the dragon to slay probably is this close game thing. And a lot of it's going to be based on not just playing good team football, but what do we got in Dylan in those moments?
Couldn't agree more. And this isn't like, I mean, you can only, the games, they've spanked these teams, so it's not their fault that they haven't like slayed that dragon yet. In all reality, you would have hoped that they wouldn't have had a close game against Northern Iowa or UTEP or whatever. But it's just, I think it's been interesting, the reaction for 3-0. A lot of people are super excited. I mean, 99.9% people are really excited, but there is this like, there's this nitpicking going on, and maybe this little like, I think there's this little something is in the back of everybody's mind, and I think it's this close game dragon.
But it's maybe rightfully so. Rightfully so. Like until we slay it, it's dragon sitting in the castle.
Yes,
and it's sitting on the gold, right? And the gold is a winning championship program.
Couldn't agree more.
And we gotta slay it. We do, and it's only we're only gonna learn what we need to know until we see it.
Right. Okay. So I glad you were vibing with me on that, where I'm just like,
no doubt that's hanging.
That is hanging over everybody's head. And listen, that dragon could be coming to town Friday night.
Yeah.
It could be coming to town Friday night. Real quick, before we get to the mailbag, club update. Just a real quick club update. So for people that last week, Huskers in the club, we let 6 in. Ty Robinson, Dylan Raiola, Polar Bear, Gifford, Nair, Tommy Hill.
Tommy joined the club.
Gourmet Grill. People that we don't want to send home. They're at the Gourmet Grill. Fedoni, Banks, Barney, Ramir Johnson, Ben Hart.
Fedoni, Banks, Ben Hart, and Ramir are at the Gourmet Grill.
I had Barney. Do we not have Barney at the Gourmet Grill?
Barney is at the Gourmet Grill.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I had Ubers for Hartzog and Jamari Butler.
You know what? And I think we already have one person needs to get...
Well...
Turn that Uber around.
Here we go. So here we go.
Turn the Uber around.
And I've sent someone from the club to the Gourmet Grill.
Oh, okay.
I'm shrinking it down. I'm shrinking it back to 5.
Let's start with the club.
Here's in the club for me right now. Ty Robinson, Dylan Raiola, Polar Bear, Gifford, Tommy Hill. Excuse me, Mr. Nair. Real quick. I'm just like... It's more of like
he roughed the punter.
He roughed the punter. He's been good. I think he's Dylan's guy, but it's kind of hasn't necessarily. I mean, he did have a touchdown in the last game. It's kind of crazy. You'd be like, "Damn, dude, I scored a touchdown, and you guys
scored a touchdown, which kept him in. To me, kept him in the club. He was a fringe guy.
I just think,
and then he roughed the punter.
He roughed the punter, and this is more of a fire code thing than anything. I really want to get back towards 5 in the club.
You want 5 in the club.
I think that's
overcapacity is when we're so
that's
good.
When we saturate, when everybody starts getting this participation trophy world we're living. We're not participation club. This is the club. Okay,
the club. I mean,
Are you okay with that? No disrespect to Nair necessarily.
it's weird that he did have a touchdown.
He did, and we're sending him. We're to the Gourmet
demoting
Grill.
him with a touchdown. I think the block punt concerned me a little bit. And how many catches did he have? Did he have more than just the one catch?
Good question. He maybe had one more over the middle in the 2-minute drill.
Pulled up real quick here.
Because
stats. Receiving Nair.
I'll pull this box up. Hold on one second.
2 catches, 35 yards.
So he had the touchdown, and I think he had that one over the middle in the 2-minute drill.
You know, I would. That's a hard one. I could go either way. If you feel strongly that you wanted him out, I'm gonna ride with you, and we can send him. How about to the Gourmet Grill? Let's not send him home.
So I have a lot of people
there.
I have a lot of people at the Gourmet Grill now.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? Those 5.
I'm
it
okay
feels
with
like
that.
those 5. It does. Keep it real. Does it not kind of feel like there's a line after those 5?
Yeah, Nair, because I feel like you pretty soon Banks could. Banks are actually Barney. Might be the guy.
Raiden's like, I'm the
Raiden
all-purpose
Nair.
yards leader.
Raiden and Nair maybe are almost switching places in the Gourmet Grill right now.
Okay, so here we go. Gourmet Grill. Nair, Raiden, a.k.a. Barney, Banks, Ramir. I'd like to introduce 2 new people to the Gourmet Grill. Malcolm Hartzog.
Oh, I think he earned it.
He's got 2 picks.
He earned it.
He's got 2 picks.
It was a big pick, too.
And then I have brought someone to the Gourmet Grill because of something I saw in Chasing 3. If you are the Brooke Behringer Award winner and you're a good player, that means something to me. I'm bringing Jamari Butler to the Gourmet Grill. This is after a D&P. I can tell as a you. Oh, wow, mister.
No, here's
I didn't
why.
know I was
Here's why
talking
I'm
to Mr.
going to
Meaty
disagree
Pants.
vehemently. He's in an Uber heading home right now, and you're going to pull him out of the Uber when he didn't play.
He
was
the Brooke Behringer Award winner.
I know, but that happened. That happened, I believe,
In the offseason.
in the offseason.
I don't care. Okay.
Nick, you just caught the Chasing 3 way late. So there's nothing about him other than your viewing habits that have changed. So think about that. Yeah.
He
Nick,
won the Brooke Behringer Award.
I agree. He goes up in my book.
Okay.
He goes.
You
up
want to keep him in the Uber?
He's still in the Uber. He's not home. Nick, how about this? He's
All
not
right.
home. He's not home.
I want you to say that to his face when he comes.
Here's
Let's
what
go,
I tell
Jerry
him.
Springer. Well, matter of fact,
He's here.
he's here. Jamari, come on.
Here's what I'd say. We're just having this Uber drive around the block a couple times.
Okay.
We're not sending him home.
Okay.
He's in a moving Uber.
Okay.
He's going by the club. He's going by the Gourmet Grill.
Okay.
We're just keeping him close because he's had a nice sack against Colorado. He's played good football. He's a clear leader. He's a Brooke Behringer Award, Citizenship Award. I mean,
come on.
that matters, right?
Come on.
Therefore, we're not sending him home. But he did not play last week due to soreness.
All right.
I mean, so he's prepared
my
for this
rationale. I've demoted a guy that scored a touchdown, and I upgraded a guy that didn't play.
That's correct. And I'll ride with you on one, and I will overrule you on the other.
My Ubers. Ben Hart was in the Gourmet Grill, and I got him in an Uber. I'm just like, I don't know. I mean, do we really feel passionate about Ben Hart being at the Gourmet Grill?
He's a big guy. I feel like he's going to want food.
Well, matter of fact, funny you say that. Bryce, come on out. I got Ben Hart in an Uber. I got Fedoni in an Uber.
I think that's right.
And I got a new guy into the Uber.
Who?
Dante Dowdale.
I'm with it.
Okay, we cool with that? But the main thing is, I think those 5 in the club, those are the 5.
Those are the 5. I think it's fair.
It's going to take a lot. If we stay true to that, it's going to take a lot to supplant one of those guys.
So is Ben Hart in the grill or is he in the Uber?
I have Ben Hart in an Uber, but we had to get him an Uber XL because that's a big old boy.
I'm going to say Uber XL for Ben Hart. I'm going to put one of those little stars by it so it can say Uber XL. So he's a big guy. And it's going to be It's going to be a DoorDash Uber, and we're just going to provide him with some
food?
Jimmy John's,
some Jimmy John's freaky fast delivery.
DoorDash Jimmy John's, just because we got to keep him fed.
Okay. Do we feel okay about where we're at with this?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, your boy HOF, your boy Canton is.
He's not. I don't know. He just hasn't.
It doesn't feel like he's popping right now.
It doesn't feel like he's popping right now.
And to be in the club, you gotta pop with this team.
I mean, young Mr. Ainsworth, Carter Nelson is kind of walked in, and
he's like at the Uber pickup station.
Yes, and the Uber, I don't know. I mean, Carter Nelson's like he's under consideration.
I'd say I'd say for sure Carter Nelson is in the Uber pickup line. I think that's fair.
Okay. You ready to mailbag it up? Speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'm ready.
Speaking of the club, this is where we're going to start the mailbag. Jeremy emails. Says you only get 5 permanent members of the all-time Nebraska football players in the club. Who are they? Love the show. P.S. If you are ever in Minnesota and want to play TPC Twin Cities, let me know. All expenses on me.
Yes.
Should we do it?
The answer is yes.
We should do it.
Figure this out.
Yeah, I'm all for that. Okay. All-time Huskers in the club. I think it's pretty easy.
Crouch.
Yep.
Johnny Rogers.
Yep.
Mike Rozier.
Yep.
Tommy.
T. Frage.
Sue? No.
Sue. I think it's T. Frage, Crouch, Sue, Johnny Rogers, Mike Rozier. You have the Heisman Trophy winners. You have the greatest defensive lineman to ever play.
I think that's the part. I mean,
who is someone knocking on the door at the club?
I mean, I'm going way back. Bob Brown.
Whoa! See, this is what I love about you.
Pro Football and College Football Hall of Fame. Like that's a rare air, right?
Yep. Fedoni's in one, not in the other, so you have to consider
Fedoni's
that.
In the college one yet, he's just in the pro. He's only in pro. But I think Sue should have won the Heisman. So it's too bad he didn't, obviously, because then it's like he leaves no doubt, but really he should have.
So are the four? I would say Sue. So the 4 are T. Frage, Crouch, Johnny Rogers, and Rozier locks.
I think they have to be.
So so Sue's who else? So Bob Brown. Who else would be in consideration for that? Because to me, you open it up to a lot of
Sue defensively. I mean,
you're talking about. I mean, you just go to start listing great.
I mean, we loved like Wistrom and Peter in the '90s, great, but they never reached Sue's individual level. Yep. It was more like they were like the team guys. In the '80s, you got a lot of good players with Turner Gill, Fryer.
You got your Dean Steinkuhlers, Rich Glover,
Broderick Thomas,
Will Shields,
Neil Smith, Will Shields. Like Will Shields is the guy, but he didn't like Sue's impact is so much bigger in the sense of like Sue took over college football himself as a defensive player. I think it's safe to say
it's Sue. I think it's Sue.
I'd be comfortable saying that now.
Okay. I think it's for some reason I read that question, I thought to myself like, this might be tough. And for some reason it was like boom, 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 boom. It felt like it was pretty. There are a lot of like once you get past those, there's a big pool of.
It's funny you say it. That's exactly right. If you were to say name numbers 5 through 10, I'd be like, I don't even know where to start. But 1 through 5 is actually that was easy.
T. Frage, E. Crouch, Sue, Johnny Rogers, Mike Rozier. Shouts out to him. Rozier and his big old. Remember his big old shoulder pads?
Oh yeah.
He would juke and it would just like it was shimmy. Okay, at Nebraska Revival. It's a 3-part question, and we'll walk through this. He says a ceiling and floor record after 3 games. Then he has top 3 players stock up versus preseason expectations. Top 3 players stock down versus preseason expectations. So here we go. We're going to walk through this. Okay. Ceiling and floor record for the rest of the way is now that they're 3-0. To me, now that they're 3-0, the floor feels like 6-6.
Floor 6-6.
Floor 6-6, and the ceiling still feels like it's 9-3 to me. Like I'm not ready to say. I've been impressed with what I've seen, but we talked about those dragons that are still out there. Daenerys Targaryen is, I mean, Daenerys is flying them over Memorial Stadium. And even though things are going well, those dragons are flying.
Is 10-2 not, I mean, ceiling to me is like absolute best case.
Okay, maybe you want to go 10?
Like, we don't want to say if somebody gets hurt, right?
Right. Well, yeah.
We don't want to say the names out loud.
But the ceiling is like best case scenario.
Everything goes right. If everything goes right, is 10-2 even remotely possible?
God.
It's hard to say that, isn't it?
For me, it's hard. Like, I guess this is what I wrote down. I'm not ready to say that they will win all the games they are supposed to, air quotes here. And then I'm also not ready to say they are going to beat teams like Ohio State, USC, or even Iowa. Yeah. I'm just not ready to I'm not ready to go there.
I think that's I mean, just for prediction's sake, 6-6 and 9-3 feels,
I feel like that's
in the right range.
So quick opponent check. Illinois, better than we thought.
Yep.
Ranked now. Purdue,
worse.
Man, they got their teeth kicked in and look bad. They're worse than I thought. But that game still worries me. 11 a.m. kick, first roadie. Feels like it's not going to be good. I feel like what you don't want is it be like, grade 48. Grade 48 tonight. You don't want that. We don't want Anyan to. Is that a bad joke? Is that a bad?
If you don't watch the YouTube of Nick doing it, it doesn't make quite as much sense, but it was a beautiful yawn. It was a beautiful yawn.
Oh, that's so bad. What I do if he yawns, that's not going to be good. Okay, Rutgers. About what they,
And yawning's contagious. The whole
it is. So then everybody's like.
They don't have a Gatorade tub in the side. They just got coffee.
It's just coffee, and people are like eating oatmeal. Like Ramir Johnson's eating oatmeal. It's not good. That's not what we want. Some guys making omelets in the back. Okay,
Ben Hart's still in his slippers, like and like a robe, a big robe.
Like, oh shoot! Like, I told you guys, 11 a.m. kick. West Lafayette. Rutgers, about what they thought they'd be. Indiana, way better than I was expecting. Dangerous game. They crushed UCLA on the road. UCLA, about what we thought, looks like a top 3-4 team in the country. UCLA is bad, so all of a sudden that game looks easier. USC looks, man, that team's talented. I watched their first
game. Their quarterback was the guy
like
that I go, this guy is a real player.
Wisconsin. They just lost their starting quarterback for the season. Tyler Van Dyke hurt his knee, and Bama came in there and just...
Yeah, they were just outmatched by Bama. So I don't think I can judge them fairly until they play somebody
comparable.
I didn't get to watch them other than the Bama game, and Bama was so much better. It's just like...
But the thing about losing your quarterback, that's concerning, obviously. And then Iowa, about what we thought, they're maybe a little better on offense. So
I think they could be better than we think.
I agree. So you kind of go through that. You with me? I think floor 6-6, ceiling 9-3.
I like it.
Okay, top 3 players stock up versus preseason expectations. Here's mine. Ready?
Yeah.
Raiden, Ja'Cory Barney. Okay. Bullock. Right? I mean, we were like, what?
As a starter, as an every down guy, he's been pretty good, pretty darn good.
And then I put Dante Dowdell.
Way up. You're right.
Is there anybody else? To me, those 3 guys have like really been like
I underestimated Nair and Banks.
Me too.
I mean,
you got your Carter Nelson. I don't know anybody else on defense. Bayer's kind of been sneaky good. No one else in the Tommy Hill in some ways has almost impressed me more than I was.
Hill.
You and I were we were a little skeptical of Tommy Hill heading into the year.
That's fair.
But to me, though, Barney, Bullock, Dowdell feel like the obvious 3 to me.
Yep. With that.
See, okay, top 3 players stock down. Maybe it's just I don't want to like rip people. Like I couldn't get to 3. I put Fedoni, like we talked about, just kind of hasn't popped. And then Singleton, I just haven't he's one of those guys that hasn't popped much.
He's been fine. I
literally couldn't come up with a 3rd. Can you think of anybody?
Probably. Because I don't know if I go anybody in the O line because they've been fine.
The running backs have all been
I mean, Gabe Urban and Emmett Johnson, like, I don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're just the other guys are playing better.
That's what I
think. So you maybe put them down just because, if you had them ahead of Ramir and Dowdell, it's like, well, they're not even, like Gabe's barely even playing right now. So
Lloyd has been kind of what he usually is.
Malachi Coleman we thought was going to be a starter, but he's not even he's going to redshirt this year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any major stock downs. And Fidone's, it's maybe, just trying to get him in a rhythm. It's not that he's not playing well.
Yes.
It's that, like, he doesn't feel like he's found his flow in this offense.
Agree. So like, it's not quite fair to put him in like stock down. It's more of just, I don't even know how to
take our stock down
him
with a grain of salt, everybody. It's not we're not disparaging anybody. It's way more just like, hey, kind of we kind of it was our own fault for over expecting him to have 5 touchdowns and 300 yards.
I really thought he would. I'm serious. Like, I really thought he would have like and he's just being used. Yeah.
Well, think about this. Whose stock is up? Both receivers, Raiden, Dowdell.
Right.
Those guys have gotten the ball more and have made plays. Therefore, Fidone hasn't had to.
Agree. I think
it's the ball's going everywhere.
Yes. There's just no one's really had huge numbers yet, just because it's getting spread out a little bit. So I think he's a little bit of a victim of that. I also feel like there are times that they're like, they haven't shown everything.
No, and like you said, most of his touches have been on the side screens. Nick's like, why would you do that with Fidone?
I don't know. I just said from the first time I saw them, like, I love the guy, but I don't.
It is want not him, probably his strength.
Not his strength to me. It's not. It's not his strength. So I liked that question though. That was interesting to think about. Okay, take a quick break here. Tell you about Pella. I love when people come to me and say, hey, man, I saw that Pella TV commercial. It's fantastic. Even Doug McDermott sent me a video of him watching the Pella commercial. I'm like, thanks, Doug. I love it. The local team at Pella Windows and Doors are the best around. Debbie and Vince and the crew helped me find the perfect fit for our home during our free in-home consultation. Then we visited the local showroom to view our options and ensure our selections were the perfect choice. The installation experts, they were on time, professional, courteous, and they left our house cleaner than they found it. Call the Omaha or Lincoln showroom or go to PellaOmaha.com to find out how you can get $100 and new windows and doors starting at $122 a month. That's PellaOmaha.com. And the Nick Bob Podcast is brought to you by Brickway, Cut Spike, Lucky Bucket Family. We got the bourbons on display right here. I've had my bourbon and water and listened to Bruce Hornsby. It was delicious. I'm bringing this bad boy over. I'm bringing the Cut Spike bourbon over to your house on Saturday, and you and I are going to have a nice little sip of this. Okay?
I'm with it. with it.
We're going to have a nice little sip of that bad boy. And I told you about the Oktoberfest beers I was drinking over the weekend. It's fantastic. Great brewery, great distillery. We're happy to have them on. Check them out in Omaha. They are 4 blocks south of 120th and Giles. Make sure you go check them out. And we're brought to you by Peerless Energy Systems. They are the Solaire authorized distributor for Nebraska and Iowa. They go to market via local distributors and make some of the best air compressors and ancillary compressed air equipment in the industry. So if you are in food processing, transportation, refineries, utilities, manufacturing, you own a body shop, whatever, for any and all air compressor needs, Peerless Energy Systems has you covered. Go to peerlessenergy.com. That's peerlessenergy.com. And one more I got to mention here. So Dane Cook is coming to Omaha Sunday, September 29th at 7:30 p.m. at the Steelhouse in Omaha. You can get tickets at steelhouseomaha.com. Comedy trailblazer and actor Dane Cook is known for his legendary stand-up comedy specials on unparalleled stage presence and outrageous observational humor. You and I, we were like, Dane Cook.
He was a phenomenon.
The Vicious Circle and his first Comedy Central special. The Burger King, like, get the pickles, the pickles. So he's a physical, you know me, I like people that really will like get into it.
I remember his first half-hour special that was, I don't even remember, it was on like HBO or one of those you'd see on Comedy Central. They'd have these and it was just like, who is this crazy guy?
He was just like a bolt of lightning.
He was so physical and he's fantastic. And he was younger then, so he was really, but you were like, who is this guy?
So Honestly, if you're looking for something to do Sunday, September 29th at 7:30 p.m., you need to go check out and get your laugh on with Dane Cook. Again, tickets are available, steelhouseomaha.com. It's Dane Cook on his tour, fresh new flavor. Steelhouse Omaha, September 29th, 7:30 p.m. Go to steelhouseomaha.com. The pickles. I want the pickles. Okay, back to the mailbag here. Is this team, this is Aaron, says, is this team built to come from behind? We haven't seen much adversity this year, but the second half has been an issue with production. If they are losing, can the offense, can they find the offense and complementary defense to win the game? I mean, we kind of talked about, like, we don't know. We don't know about close games, but coming from behind, I think Dylan, I feel like I'm confident that if Dylan Raiola has to get aggressive, like, I think, I think they are. Like, I think if Dylan Raiola has to really, really unholster his pistols and get her going, I think he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, I'm not less confident when it's like more on Dylan. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes when that happens, you're like, oh, this is going to be bad. We don't want this guy having to turn, like sometimes
Harburg last year, you're like, you don't want to get down 14 here.
No, because some game managers are game managers for a reason, because like they don't have the goods.
Yes.
To like Dylan's almost like a game manager by choice.
Right.
And then he picks his moments to let his talent and aggression come out. Like, so I do think though, like he showed us a couple times on like 2-minute drills, like in the first half.
Exactly.
He's very comfortable shifting into that mode. And my prediction is that he's going to be able to do it.
And the defense, like this defense has shown in the years past, in last year, they can stop the run.
Yeah.
And they're older and experienced, so they're not going to like
wither away in crunch time.
Freak out. So
the defense has shown us over the last few years that they can play in the crunch time.
Ryan says, Bo, backup saw good playing time for the third game in a row. How important is that for future development and consistency down the road?
Big. Yeah. You got to get reps. You got to play in front of like a real crowd against real teams to know what you are. Because football's an interesting sport because you practice so much and you play so little. And some guys might go their whole career and never play in a game.
Which is wild to say.
And so you practice, and practice is one thing, but you don't know what you are until you can get out there in front of everybody in a game where it's like, hey, it's not scripted. It's not tag off. It is
for real,
full go, for real. And you learn a lot about yourself. So these guys that are backups and young players, more than anything, is they get to learn a lot about themselves. And what that means is some guys, they learn that I can do this. I can actually play out there. I belong on that field, right? That is a big turning point in every player's career. The first time they go, I belong here. And that's the only way you get it, is being out there.
There's just, like you said, you can do all the scrimmages in the world. You can bring in refs and try to make it as much of a game as anything. There's nothing like a real game. Again, I will say, I think I've told this story before, but my sophomore year, heading into my sophomore year at KU, we're preseason number 1. And we have our final big scrimmage before the season's going to start. And we brought in officials and everything, big scrimmage. I have 31 in the scrimmage. I was a spot backup that ultimately didn't really play that year.
Yeah.
I bring that up to say how different life is in a scrimmage in practice versus a game.
Yeah.
I could have preseason number 1. I could have 31 and kick everyone's ass in a scrimmage and not really even get on the floor.
Yeah.
So just to show,
what would have happened to you if somehow that could have you got put into the game more in Kansas and you got to go off once?
Yeah, it would have been huge.
If you ever did 31 once in a game, you're a different guy for the rest of your life. The rest of your playing career is different.
Yes.
Because you went, I belong as the guy that can score 31 on this floor. It's like until you do it in the game, you can never. It never happens.
You really settle in. Your confidence explodes. Everything just changes if you do it in a game.
Yeah.
So, but it is huge. To Ryan's question, it's big. Trace says greatest strength / weakness on each side of the ball. I'll go first and let you kind of think about it. So offensive strength, I put Dylan Raiola.
Yeah.
I know that's late. I don't know, but like Dylan Raiola, but then I'll say maybe like, and help me, you're the football guy here. The strength might actually be like the short passing game, and I'd even consider those little like pop passes to Barney, and like I think Ramir and those guys are good out of the backfield, like
I guess if
or short crossers to Barney.
If we just sum it up, I would sum it up as balance. Like they're balanced.
Yeah.
Like they can run the ball, they can throw the ball long, they can throw the ball short. They kind of have they have a nice variety and balance to their game. Like I kind of watch, like they try to keep the run pass ratio pretty close. Yep. Like that's very intentional, and not everybody can do it well, and they seem to be doing it well. I say a lot of it does fall on Dylan, that he can control a game and has the ability to kind of do whatever they want him to do. He can pretty much do. I think I don't know if it's,
but no, you're right. Like if you think about it right now, it's like, okay, can they throw it long? Yes. Can they throw it short? Yes. Can they throw it to the running backs? Yes. Can they run it? Yes. Can they
screens?
Can they screen game? Can they have a powerful back? Yes. Do they have a shiftier back? Yeah. Like there's really not anything they can't do. Now that's also not to say that they're not the greatest offense in the world.
They're not great at anything, but they're pretty good at most things.
Agree. Offensive weakness, I would just say like elite high level talent. Like the home run hitter, like I don't know if there's a Trey Palmer, Amir Abdullah, like all these guys are like,
no. Other than Dylan's talent, it's all.
Yeah, I guess I meant on the skills.
A very skill player talent is, it's probably very good, not great.
Okay, defense strength. I just put D line. I mean, I could just say, defensive line disruption, whether that be sacks, TFLs, just like they seem like. Was there anything else you would?
I think D line is a good one. It's the strength. I don't
that's
know.
pretty broad.
I don't know if the 3-3-5 being
the scheme of it.
The scheme, in a sense, is a strength. I don't know. I don't know if that counts.
No, it can. I mean,
I would say it'd be fair to say our D-line right now is what we call our strength.
I put weakness. Are they fast? Like, is there anybody I put defensive speed.
Tommy's the fastest, I believe.
Tommy's the fastest, but I'm like, I don't know if Bullock's super fast or Bayer's super fast.
He's a former DB. He's fast enough.
Yeah.
I think Bullock's fast. I mean, I think we're not like blazers. We're not one of those like, sometimes you see those SEC defenses, you're like, God, everybody can run, right?
Right.
I think we run decent. I mean, Polar Bear and Ty they're not burners at all.
No.
They're big, strong guys. But, Butler and Sherman, and they're okay. They're not super fast. Like Princewell can run.
Right. But I couldn't really think of, can you think of any other weakness?
I don't know. I don't know that we're, it's a little bit like offense. Like, I don't think we're like jumping out the gym, like talent everywhere, but I think everybody's a good football player. So it's not really, I don't see a lot of weaknesses as much as I just see like, we're not like the craziest specimens in the world out there. I think we're just good football players.
I agree. I think that's a good way to put it. This was kind of broad, but I didn't know how to really answer those questions.
It's hard to be.
Max says, when are we going to get Nick Bonbeau to have a cameo pump-up speech with Will Compton? I think Will's got that covered. I am down to go on the bus. If you want to come, if they want us to have the bus, I'd be totally down to go on the bus with Will and Taylor.
If we had to do a pump-up speech, though, ours would be very different, and it'd probably be silly.
I don't even know what
we'd err on trying to be fun. I think we'd go for something sillier, probably.
Yeah.
We just couldn't take ourselves seriously doing that. Some people can do that. We can't do that.
By the way, if you could be on any pod, I wrote down my top 3. Bill Simmons. If I was a guest on any pod, Simmons would be one. I want
to do if Klosterman was on, though.
If Klosterman, Simmons, and Bo Ruud talking about things. Conan, Conan would be a blast. And then I did put Rogan down just to be like, all right, here we go. 3 hours. What the hell?
Set your clocks to 4 hours. But he always has like whiskey and like
smoking.
And he's always like, here's my sauna and my work. Like he's always got things going on. But
yeah, Will, you want to have us on? We'll come on. Husker Homer says the offense has been lackluster in the second half so far with home field advantage. How will they respond when we take this show on the road. I mean, I think the road is kind of like, I separate those two things. The road's kind of a different animal. I think the biggest thing that I may be interested in with the road is the helmet communication for Dylan. They haven't had to deal with, they've all been at home. It's quiet when his offense. That'll be interesting. But the second half offense topic, I think I'm in the camp of it's a little overblown.
A little bit.
UTEP back. I talked about this on last pod, but I'll repeat it. UTEP backups are in the third quarter. Okay.
Yeah.
Colorado, a lot of penalties, and then the game was in control.
Yeah.
And then Northern Iowa, I don't know, limited possessions. I mean, they only had 48 snaps. I thought Marcus Satterfield got a little cute around the goal line. All of a sudden, they're bringing in Harburg for some different things. They ran the inside reverse to Bonner. They do the naked boot to Dylan Raiola. So I think it's a little overblown.
Yeah, well, to me, like we talked about this a little bit, it still felt like we were in control. Like we are managing the game, and it's uglier at times than not, right? But we're still in control. It felt like we were.
Yes,
we had something in mind that we were doing, which was bleeding the clock out as best we could, and it felt like we were at least still in control, even though it wasn't the prettiest second halves. But nothing to me to get overly
I'm not ready to totally freak out about it yet. Okay, do we want to get to Illinois?
Let's do
it. Okay, so again, last year, remember, it felt like the turning point of the season, that goal line stand we talked about with Riley Van Poppel. That game, that was right off of the Michigan butt kicking, and they did a padded up practice the next day on Sunday, and then it was a quick game on Friday, and it felt like that game was the turning point. But Illinois so far, they're 3-0. They're now ranked. They beat Eastern Illinois 45-0. They beat Kansas 23-17. They forced 4 turnovers, including a pick 6 against Kansas. Then they beat Central Michigan 30-9. That game was 13-6 at halftime, though, and that includes a 59-yard field goal right at the end of the second quarter from Illinois to make it 13-6. Couple of people to keep in mind. Their quarterback, Luke Altmaier, 69% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Solid, kind of mobile, isn't necessarily like a great runner, but could hurt you a little bit, and they'll run him maybe 5 times a game. Caden Fagan, their running back, we set 6'3", 250, just a big old boy, 42 carries, 173 yards. I mean, 6'3", 250 is 6'3", 250.
250?
250, Bo.
250's big. That's a big running back. That's really big.
Their wide receiver, Pat Bryant's off to a great start. He's got 15 catches for 235 yards and 4 touchdowns. He's just having a great year.
Is he the transfer from Texas?
I thought so.
Like Texas San Antonio, I think.
That could be. I'll have to double check that.
Yeah. So one of the two. There's 2 receivers.
There's 2.
I think
really it might be the other ones. The transfer.
The Zachary Franklin.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then their defensive back, Xavier Scott, has got 3 interceptions in 3 games. He had 2 interceptions against Kansas. He's got 1 sack and 1 forced fumble. So the biggest thing with Illinois, they forced 9 turnovers so far in 3 games. Yeah. They're +8 turnover margin, tied for 2nd in the country. Yeah, so
this is going to be a test. I mean, to have 2 receivers that are very productive. The Zachary Franklin, I think, is the one that's the transfer who is, I think, the current leader in people playing, has the most catches of anybody of active players, right? So you've got that sort of experience. The other guy's having a great year.
Yep. And
then you have a 6'3", 250-pound running back. To me, this is setting the table for I hope we're not, showing up, on an off Friday and not prepared to play, because this team is, BLM teams are well coached. They're disciplined. They play good defense. They run the ball. That's what they do. He's a good coach.
He's a good coach.
Yeah.
He's won at a high level. He's won in the Big Ten. He'll have these guys ready to go. And again, Illinois is not, Ohio State, but you turn on the TV, they look a lot different than Northern Iowa and UTEP and even Colorado at Sands, Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders. These are big physical dudes.
Yeah.
One thing, the other thing that I was looking at, though, is this seems like a lot. I'm curious what you think. So I don't know how good their O-line is. Kansas had 2 sacks and 9 TFLs against them. Central Michigan had 3 sacks and 8 TFLs. And even Eastern Illinois had 5 TFLs against them. So they've given up the teams have had 22 TFLs in 3 games. They've given up 5 sacks. So I think it's a game. Ty and the polar bear on those guys. I think they could have then they need to be active in there.
Yeah, they need to, and they I think after watching the UNI game, we exposed ourselves a little bit. Right up the mind, showing them you can run right at us if you scheme us right. So I think we're gonna have to shore things up this week in practice, and sort of reestablish our run defense, because this is another big back. They had big backs for UNI. This is a big back. I think we're gonna see a healthy dose of Caden Fegan or whatever.
Yes, I agree. I mean, I just the spread. Did you see the spread is 9.5 in favor of Nebraska? That feels like a lot.
That's a lot.
The over under is 43.5, but 9.5 feels like too many points. I do think Nebraska is going to win the game.
Yeah, that's true.
Any other? I mean, obviously, to me, turnovers is the first thing you think about.
With this team especially. This team's always historically good at getting the ball out, and we've struggled against them in the past, as we don't care to remember, with just bad turnovers against Illinois. So I think we better hold on to that ball.
I think turnovers, and then I think this feels like, this is no disrespect to Colorado. I'm not trying to, but this feels like there's going to be a big test for Dylan now. This feels like, I feel like all of a sudden they're going to jump up a level.
Matt Rule said in the paper, he said, they're talking about the last 3 games, he said, this was the preseason to me. He goes, now the season starts. And I think that's right.
Yeah.
I think it's, as much as it's, Colorado didn't feel like preseason, right?
No.
It felt like the real thing. But I think his point is this: when you look back, that usually is the it doesn't matter as much. It matters in Big Ten play. That's when you're playing for what matters the most in your season. And I think that's right. Is we're going to learn more about our team from the Big Ten play than we will from these first 3 games.
Especially with the way, especially the Colorado is not built like a Big Ten team either. They're finesse. They're not even trying to run the ball. They want to air it out. Elite quarterback, elite wide receivers. And then defensively, not overly physical. Just not. Good team, but in a different kind of good. Yeah. Big Ten, the way these Illinois and these teams are built are just totally different. So, but I feel it's weird. I feel like 9.5 is too much, but I feel pretty confident Nebraska's going to win. I have 20-14, maybe 20.
I see us scoring 28.
Oh, okay.
I think 28. Roughly around there, and I think I do think if we win, it will be 7 to 10 points, but I see us scoring a little bit more maybe. But
any other things with this game that has you
Friday night?
What do you think of that? I mean, it's happened before. It's not like they've never.
So Chattel in the paper was kind of making the point of we've had 2 years in a row of this, and Michigan hasn't, and he quoted the Michigan athletic director for being like, "Hey, we just won't play on Friday, right?
Not happen. Don't even
ask us." But it's well, do we want to play on Friday every year? I mean. His point was spread around the Fridays, right? Everybody has to share in the this isn't great, but we all share it.
Yeah, you want that big TV check? Everybody's got to.
Nobody's immune, even if you're Michigan, Ohio State in the Big Ten, right? So I think that's the part. Is it feels like, we did we've done the Ireland game and Northwestern's in Illinois, us Northwestern and Illinois are doing all the it seems like
opening with the Big Ten team on the road. It's sheesh.
They're giving us the shaft, I feel like, in some of that stuff.
What last thing? You talked about how there's a couple dragons to slay. You got the turnover dragon, got the close game dragon, and then the big game, big stage. All of a sudden, Friday, standalone, big Fox game, 2 ranked teams, not a huge stage, but bigger stage than maybe this is 2 when people. There's going to be no competition really for it. It's not like there's going to be another big football game going on at that time.
Yeah,
and 2 ranked teams.
Yeah, and I think it's funny the win against Colorado helps tamper that down a little bit, which is good.
Yes.
That's what we want. That's why it's good to win big games so that the next big game doesn't feel like all your marbles are in that one basket, right? So, yeah, it's a big game. We're ranked, they're ranked. It's like, when's the last time we've talked about that?
Yes.
Never.
So it's just a bigger game than you think on all of a sudden now than you were anticipating.
I think the last time this has happened was 2013 UCLA.
Which is like, wow. You snap your fingers and a decade goes by and you don't have 2 ranked teams in Memorial Stadium.
Gosh.
Good golly, Miss Molly. Okay. Butler's Uber is here and Benhardt's Uber's here. We need to go. Can we go hop in with them? I know it's going to be a tight squeeze. It's an Uber XL, though.
XL. Good.
Let's go.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.